me put my hoodie back on. Hello, world. This is Dan Schack coming to you as your host of On the 50 podcast from FloMarching. Today, my guest is the one and only Travis Peterman, the man behind the hair. Travis is one of probably my best friend, actually. We marched United together. We marched Rhythm X together, and we taught cadets winter percussion and design together there. And then we went to George Mason together. And now I teach at Crown. He brought me on there in 2017, and we've been there ever since. So not only is he my friend, he's a coworker. He is my director. He's my peer. Just a kind of smattering of different relationships that we have. This episode is super awesome, and it goes in as many directions as I expected it to go in. We talk about his background, starting in band in school, going into drill team, and then eventually discovering indoor and drum corps, kind of similar to my background as well. And we talk about approaches to management and design and teaching and just everything that requires. And we really only scratched the surface on that. And we talk about some more sensitive issues. We talk about age restrictions and independent world class, all instrument rule with DCI, just some of those different rules and progressive ideas that have come up in the last couple of years. I think his perspective on the activity is a very, very original, fresh, unparalleled one, and that's why he has just skyrocketed to where he's at. And he is just a diligent worker, super organized, communicates great. He's just, he's unlike any other person that I've worked with, and that's why I think we've stuck it out for so long. So you guys are really going to enjoy this one. I certainly did. Another conversation I wanted to have about changing the formula that we've talked about, but I think we need to talk about it here is the age out rule in independent world. And we didn't have the PAB, we didn't submit any rules, so we did go a year without talking about rule 4.2.1 and talking about the age out rule. But I want to hear your perspective on the possibility of extending the age out in an independent world setting, and we're specifically talking about WGI.
I love it. I think it totally aligns. Like you said, that was a perfect segue from what we were talking about before, but that aligns perfectly with creating, like, I'm interested in seeing how far we can push this, like how clean we can be, how good we can be, how theatrical it can be. Like, I want to be able to show a YouTube video of an independent world drumline to, the dudes I landscape with, and for them to be like, oh my God, like that is insane. Like, we could be doing some like Vegas show esque stuff, and that's been pushed, obviously, like the blast thing. And, it's not like I'm not pretending I'm inventing this concept, but I would love to see what we could do with that. And I think the age out for that class could be great. I think realistically, like, you're not going to see 20 people over age make a group, and if an ensemble chooses to do that, then best of luck. I think that the kind of the edges, the fringes of this worry for people, I don't think are going to happen that much. You're not going to have this 45-year-old creepy dude make the ensemble, because the ensemble is not going to take him. He's not going to be, the best. Maybe he can drum, but he's not going to have those other intangibles. I think realistically you're going to see, 3 to 7 people in each group that are probably in their, mid to late 20s, early 30s, maybe, that are financially stable and still good enough to do it. And I think it's only going to benefit those groups in, like I said, being more financially stable. You have guys and girls that can pay their dues. You're also going to kick people down into, like, the people that don't quite make the world group, because of these people are now going to go look to march open groups. And then the open groups the open kids are going to go down to A, etc. You're going to fill these groups up better. You're going to create more of a competition. And I just don't think it's realistic to think that we're going to have this crazy overflow of people that we don't want in the activity. I don't think it's going to be like that. Look at the Guard. The Independent World Guard's been doing this. I don't hear any complaints about it. I don't know.
I truly don't know what the difference would be between what the color guards are doing and what we would do. I see no difference, and it's insane that we're like so worried about members' abilities to pay inflating dues, and then we offer a solution for members to be more financially stable, and a lot of people are like, "What? No, like let's keep it exactly as it is." But it's like, but they can't afford it, or they're college students, or like especially music majors. If you're a music major, you borderline can't do drumline. You can't do indoor drumline, and
Not within the age limit.
not within the age limit. And these are talented people. These are people who are trained to be musicians. And if we could take members slightly beyond their college education, they would have a music degree. They would have the time. They'd possibly have a more like a better financial kind of situation. And I think it's purely unfortunate that if you're a music major in any serious program, you essentially can't do indoor. I think that is a serious flaw, and it limits and restricts the creativity in the top level of what we can do. We're actually not at the top level. We could be doing more. And I like you said, like to a lay person, they don't care about that. Like they'll be impressed by what's impressive, and some of that might mean that someone is a little bit more experienced, but what we're asking members to physically do, there is like a biological top end to what we're saying. Like what we have to do from a movement standpoint and just the endurance it's going to take, it would take a really strong, slightly older person to stay in it, but why not? What's the problem?
If they can, that would be like the NBA capping. Like, all right, you turned 26, you aged out of the NBA. We got to get some of these G League people in here. Like, no one wants to see that. And obviously that's like, it's a different comparison, but I think it will, there's no way it doesn't lead to having better groups in a lot of ways, and it doesn't add liability. Like we're already dealing with adults in these groups anyway. How often do you watch IW finals and you can like pick out, you're like, whoa, that person's like too old. They shouldn't be there. Like how often does that happen?
Some people look old, I guess, but not really. It never really happens.
Watching a group, it's like, I don't know. Whatever.
Never.
Again, it could be up to the groups. Like if someone's auditioning for your ensemble and you don't get a good vibe, you're like, maybe you're too old. You're not going to fit in. It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Then they shouldn't be there. That's fine. It's not like, all right, anyone above age that auditions has to make it. Sorry. It's like, no, it's not it.
We already don't have compulsory programs to take certain types and amounts of people anyway. And this really makes me think of the conversation about the all instruments thing with DCI and all these naysayers saying like, we're going to lose the heart and soul of drum corps and there's going to be full clarinet sections. Like, hey, if the Blue Devils want to come out and have 14 clarinets instead of mellophones, let them do it. If Crown wants to come out and replace their tubas with saxophones, they have a right to sabotage themselves as far as I'm concerned, because by no means do I think having a full section, a constant section of woodwinds would work at all. And anyone who's already designing at the world-class level should and would know that, right? So knowing that, you go, okay, if we have an all instruments rule, we'll probably be able to use a clarinet as a soloist into a microphone instead of using a synthesized clarinet programmed into a computer. And then we go let's double all the way back to like, we're educationally oriented and we have like all this integrity, but we'd rather have an adult program a clarinet into the synthesizer than we would have one person pick up a clarinet and actually have to play into it. Like that would actually be hard. Right. And it's just this idea that like the second you propose, again, like a slight alteration of the way the activity is, the only example people can think of is the most extreme example. Like, okay, it's like, okay, no, the whole ensemble isn't going to be old people. And then everyone else is never going to make independent world and they're going to have to be in open class groups. 2 people are going to be older than 22. Right. And I think, to maybe jump forward to this idea about what's going on with the petition to extend the age out limit because of the coronavirus, I couldn't disagree more with that initiative. To be very frank, like this idea that, well, I was going to audition for DCI and I was planning on doing DCI. And now that the age outs are back, all these hypothetical spots are going to be taken, and then I'm not going to be able to get a spot, and I would have maybe got a spot if I ever auditioned for a world-class drum corps. It's like, were you ever going to try out? Were you ever going to make it? Like, that's completely hypothetical. And it's like, if you weren't in the group, you weren't in the group. It's not like you got a year taken away from you. If you feel that way, you should have gotten in there sooner. And I think the idea of extending an age out as a reaction to like the COVID crisis, that will make things more complicated. And it will honestly, I think it's going to push the problem back by the year that they push the age out to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just real quick on your last point, I would say, like, yeah, I know world-class DCI Corps is going to come out with a section of woodwinds, but I do think another problem that rule could help is with these open class corps that struggle to fill the horn line, man. Like DCA too, like if they could fill those holes with woodwinds and be creative like that and survive, like we would literally have more drum corps if we did that. Like that's you can't convince me otherwise. Like more drum corps would survive if they had more members paying dues.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
Like so, but whatever. That's a different conversation. What did you say after that?
I'm talking about this petition to extend the age out, because now in 2 years there's going to be a lot of vets because none of the age outs are aging out, and just that idea.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have a strong reaction to that. Like I see what you're saying. I see what they're saying, because you got the guys that were like, all right, I'm going to wait and I'm going to march my last 2 years. Now all of a sudden that's 1 year. It's like, well, that sucks. I guess my thing with the DCI age out is I feel like it's a little early anyway. Like I never understood why we're, in the traditional sense, you graduate high school at 18, you go to a 4-year college. If you're like a music major, you know what I mean? That's probably what you're doing. Why are we cutting this off before you graduate college? Like that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I do think DCI should have an age out. Like I don't feel the same way about WGI. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe that's bad praxis to not be able to back this opinion up, but I just don't. I feel like DCI is good. Maybe like one more year in general. This would be a good time to do it, but I don't think that's on the table for the reasons I'm talking about.
Yeah, if they extended it, period, like if they made the bonus year 23, I would be down for that. Like, okay, we're going to extend it forever. That, and this would be the moment to do it. So I'm actually fully on board with that. But the idea of extending it for 2 years or whatever, I just don't see, that's like such a Band-Aid. So I don't think that's a fix. And in terms of DCI versus WGI, DCI, you're just living in close quarters. You're living in intimate space. And I think to keep the age kind of in a general kind of bracket makes sense. WGI, you do tend to house, but I think there's more real life in WGI. You're going home, you're staying there for like 2 nights a week. There's just a little bit more separation. I don't necessarily think like in a functioning WGI group, if you ended up having a 25-year-old, that they'd be best friends with the 15-year-old that you have. You know what I mean? Like that just wouldn't, if that hopefully wouldn't naturally happen. But 2, if it was, like that's its own problem. That's a completely different problem. And we could have that problem already. For GMU, I actually think a little bit that we're lucky now that our low end is 18. Like we are not allowed to take under 18 members. And I actually think that has been good. I think that's actually a good thing for us.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it definitely saves a lot of potential problems. But Osberg couldn't march that 1 year, and I'll always be sad about that. And yeah, I mean, you get those people that are under 18. You're like, damn, I wish so-and-so could come do it. But I agree. I mean, it causes a lot of good situations too. Yeah,
just a little bit. I think it's just a little bit more buttoned up. I think it's a little bit more legitimate, and I think aside from all of the like restrictions that any university program has, the benefits so far outweigh any of those costs. Like I'm so happy to do the things that we need to do to be a university program, because it's a very like legitimizing thing to have people working in an office during the week that are supporting us, and just the interactions that we have with the office and their knowledge and their kind of the way they're plugged into the bigger university. Like I think ultimately that's been a really good thing for us, and it feels more legitimate. Whereas like, Cadets Winter Percussion was like, oh, no more money, fold. Like we folded so quick, like in terms of like finals happened. what month did we fold in? Like August, May.
No, it was May.
It was May.
It was the Sunday night before spring training started at Crown. And I remember, like George called me, very short conversation, and then it went on social media probably an hour after that on a Sunday night. And the next morning we were like starting Carolina Crown for the year, and I had to face probably 10 people in the percussion section and like talk about that when I was still trying to process that. Even though, it wasn't a complete surprise, as you know. I always joke that there's like 13 reasons why CWP folded. Like, it wasn't one thing. That's definitely a different conversation, but
oh, I know. I have some ideas as to why, but one of them was money. And for GMU, like, that's not our problem. We are very, very legitimate in that way. And like, if that program was going to go away, it'd be for a different reason. That reason very likely being on bad decisions that we've made. And I think we've made some good decisions since we've been there, and the group has gotten better. So, we wouldn't, basically the floor wouldn't just like evaporate under us because these groups are held together by, very, very little. And, even what you see like for CWP in the 3 years we were out there, having, I think, ultimately success, what was driving that was like very sketchy. It was like we didn't know really how we were going to get down the road, and there's just a lot of questions. We weren't sure who was paying dues, like all this stuff. You have more insight into that than I do, but GMU, like it feels like at Mason, like the members have an incentive to pay their dues, so they do.
Well, we focus on it. I remember that was, and again, I didn't see all that. Like I was a director of CWP for like 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Like I didn't do all the stuff that I'm doing. There was still like the whole YEA admin team that took us to. I didn't have to do any of that. I was hanging out with the staff. That was nice. That's one thing I do miss in Dayton is being able to relax, because as soon as we get on that bus in Virginia, I'm like, oh my God, like, we get off at a rest stop and I'm like, oh no, like, is everyone going to get back on the bus? It's a crazy level of responsibility that I don't always love, but damn, I forgot your original question again. I keep just
you were talking about CWP, like the fact that YEA was like handling everything.
Yeah.
But we didn't know what was going on versus
not really. And obviously it wasn't planned in a way that we would plan. And I think that goes back to like what I was talking about with how I came to these positions. It was an accident. It was just like, oh, like I really think we should do it like this. Okay, let me do it like this, and even noticing for us back then, like we weren't as aware as to what was or wasn't happening, because we didn't know what the questions were to the answers we were seeing, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. I think the experience of seeing so many faults happen, where it's like, oh, we don't have a rehearsal site, or the floor doesn't fit, or the doorways aren't big enough, or the truck didn't leave on time, or it's like all the things that you don't think about leading up to the rehearsal starting, we had to confront in a very immediate and reactive way. And then it was like, all right, what are you going to do? And like most of the time we were able to react in a way that led us to the next step in a positive way. But hey, if 2015 CWP went a better way, what could we have placed? Because it was the hardest season ever. And it was like the most negative, like just showing up every weekend, not knowing what was going to happen, not knowing who was in charge, things changing, things not being there. Just like we got a new floor in the last month of the season. We put the ending of the show on the floor in the last few weeks, and it was just like, and those were reactions. When we went to our first show, Travis is going to love this story. When we went to our first WGI regional in 2015, Dennis DeLucia told us that we were what was wrong with World Class.
That's a quote. That's like a direct quote.
Yes. Yeah, no, it is. I'm not exaggerating for once. And honestly, like that, you shouldn't say that as a judge, but at that time we were in such disarray. Like he could tell that things weren't going right, but all he could say was like, yeah, this group is just loud and bad. And then it was like, as we tried to start to hammer away at all the administrative things that needed to get fixed, then all of a sudden the design things get fixed. And it's like this one big kind of motion of trying to get things together. And then, I mean, honestly, I actually don't remember like that first round going out. I think we got like 8-7-6 when we were out there.
9-7-6
or 9-7-6, but I don't remember like being worried about making finals. I don't ever remember us being like, we got to make finals. Like, did we talk about that?
I don't remember. I mean, hindsight is like, I remember, 14, we had no idea. We literally didn't compete until WGI prelims in Dayton. 15, we lost to, what happened at the, whatever regional it was at that point, not New Jersey. Was it in Pennsylvania still? We lost to United, I'm pretty sure. No.
I don't know. Again, someone needs to fact check the New Jersey 2015 Toms River regional to. Yeah, I don't remember either, but we can have someone in the post edit check that out. I don't remember either. I think we did beat them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we did.
I do remember, for whatever reason, we got a 94-1 at finals, and that was the highest score that we've ever gotten in WGI. World class.
Yeah, yep. But I mean, like, I don't ever remember being like, we got to make finals this year. We got to do this or whatever. Like, it was very like, just like, oh my God. Like, once we fixed one thing and then one other thing got worse, and it was like such a mess. And then it was like
zoomed in to the point where we were like the plow on the front of the truck. Like, we were just going forward. We didn't see the truck, but we were the plow, and we were just, every weekend we would show up and just go. And yeah, you're right. I don't think we thought too much about, we weren't theorizing what was going to happen at the end, like we probably do more of now, because we've been out there a few times.
Yeah, I kind of wish, like, we've definitely talked about this, but it's like, it sucks that when you get more experienced and you honestly just have a better perspective, that you do more of that, like, kind of thinking about where you're going to get, and like the ordinals and the boxes and the national rankings, and like, you just can't ignore it, I guess. And at that time, like, we didn't know enough about it. I just kind of knew, like, I'm going to just teach the crap out of the drum line and, like, I guess try to make the design work. Not sure I knew what that meant at all. I think we were all just like, this is terrible. Let's change it.
Yeah, it's subjective.
Yeah, it's very subjective. And I mean, I think the overall, like, the concept that year, which was deconstructed, was probably like a perfect, like, concept, much like touch. It was like, okay, I can deconstruct every single little part of what an indoor show is. And like, if we did that show now, we would have more success than we did at that time.
I agree, man. I've thought about that before. Like, I mean, we got 6th place in WGI World Class with all the issues that we had and the staff changes, et cetera. And like you said, that concept was just so strong and so obvious that we just had like really great points to build around, and what we know now about building and connecting moments. Yeah, we would probably do that show better now. Is that like faux pas? Maybe we should let's just do it again, do it better.
We're going to call it Too Deconstructed, TOO. It's too deconstructed.
Yeah, no, but you're right. Touch is a great example of just like, oh man, there's so many things you can do that are just obvious, so obvious.
They should come out and do Touched. And with that, I think we've got reached a great point. An hour and 50 minutes in. Got to thank Travis for jumping up on here. I'm going to see Travis in Winston-Salem with the elusive Sean McElroy and Joe DeLosa and our friend Deborah. We're going to have a great time, have a little vacation, and it's been fun, Travis, as always.
I think this is the longest we've gone without hanging out in person in years, probably.
I'm withering and dying inside. Well, what's going on in drum corps these days? What I'm seeing here, as of today, 5/28, the DCI Performer Showcase, or INE, is going virtual. So what used to be like individual and ensemble, which takes place finals week in Indianapolis, is now going to be all done electronically. And I think this is a smart initiative from DCI, just considering that we really can't do anything in terms of like a traditional drum corps setting with how many members there are in the close quarters. Obviously, that's a big problem with the COVID thing. So I think this is a pretty decent supplement. What I think is specifically worth mentioning here is that there are new classifications. So there's the under 21 class, which is going to be like current DCI members, a sound sport or drumline battle program, college, high school, or music conservatory. So anyone that's within that DCI age restriction is in the under 22 class. And then they've opened it up to over 22. So according to their website, a class has no maximum age restrictions. This is the over 22 class. No maximum age restrictions and allows performers over the age of 22 to participate. Some examples of this would be Drum Corps Associates, which is all age DCA, WGI, Sport of the Arts Independent Ensemble, but I guess all age, like Independent World Color Guard is. And then international ensembles such as DCE, which is Drum Corps Europe, or UK, Asia, Indonesian Drum Corps, Japan, the Japan Marching Band Association, Field Band Federation of the World Association of Marching Show Bands. I'm just hearing about these for the first time now. Registration for this is going to be open June 18th through July 24th, and then they're going to adjudicate and rank and place everyone between July 25th and August 5th. So I think it's interesting that now that this is going digital, it's being open to all age. So now DCI is essentially going to have DCI judges or DCI chosen judges adjudicating people who are over that 22 age, the age of 22 rather. And that's something we, as an activity tend to be against. And I am certainly wondering why this is different. I guess because it's all digital and everyone can just kind of submit from the comfort of their own homes. But I'm wondering about just in terms of like DCI's mission statement and it, the educational aspect, how that kind of encircles this idea of bringing in a new class of people over 22. So I'm wondering what people think about this. I don't know too much about what's going on, who's going to enter. I certainly think people have time now to work on solo ideas, especially rather than on a DCI tour. And I think it's good because it's going to be available to a lot more people. Generally with the INEs now, it's finals week and really we're in rehearsal. So a lot of corps don't let people do INEs. I know Crown, we don't have them do INEs. So there's certainly some positives, but I'm wondering about the all age thing and how that's even segmented and separated from the under 22 bracket. So it's a new thing. Definitely something we're going to keep an eye out for. So let me know what you think because I'm interested.